Angel Reese just put her name in the same sentence as Michael Jordan. Take a second and really process that. A player who recently dropped a 4-point performance and missed point-blank looks is now framing herself as the Jordan of her era. And when Stephen A. Smith heard that, he didn't hold back. Because here's the reality, Michael Jordan didn't just say he was the greatest. He proved it in a way that changed the entire sport. He didn't just dominate games. He transformed the NBA into a global powerhouse. He shifted culture. He turned sneakers into status symbols. He packed arenas everywhere he went. Now ask yourself, does that comparison actually fit? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's break down what really happened. Angel Reese wasn't casually name-dropping Jordan in some offhand remark, but she was promoting her Reebok signature shoe when she confidently said that people would be wearing her sneakers everywhere, just like Jordan's. Then she took it a step further and called herself the Jordan of her generation. That's not subtle, that's not playful, that's a direct comparison, and the timing couldn't have been worse. On first take, when that quote came up, it was immediately paired with a simple stat: 4 points against the Indiana Fever. 4. Stephen A. didn't have to exaggerate. He didn't have to reach. The numbers spoke loud enough. He called the comparison delusional, and when you stack a 4-point outing next to Michael Jordan's legacy, it's tough to argue with that reaction. But what made his take hit harder wasn't just the stat sheet, it was the context. Smith reminded viewers what the Jordan name actually represents. Oh, it represents sold-out arenas. It represents elevating Nike from a sports brand into a global empire. It represents turning casual viewers into lifelong fans. And most importantly, it represents showing up every single night and delivering, on the court first, in the marketing second. That's the difference. Here's where it gets really interesting. By invoking Jordan to build her brand, Reese unintentionally set the bar at the highest possible level. Because when you attach your name to his, you're not just borrowing the aura, you're accepting the standard. And that standard isn't about headlines or viral moments. It's about dominance, consistency, moving the entire league forward. Jordan didn't just shine individually, he carried the business of basketball with him. Every city he stepped into felt the impact. But the league grew because he performed at a level that demanded attention. That's the weight the name carries. So when Stephen A. pushed back, it wasn't just TV theatrics. He was drawing a clear line in the sand. If you want the Jordan comparison, you have to pay the Jordan price. That means elite production. That means winning. That means cultural influence backed by undeniable results, not just bold quotes. And right now, that gap between the statement and the stat line, it's impossible to ignore. The moment Stephen A. Smith drew that line, the debate had to evolve. Because if Angel Reese isn't the one reshaping the WNBA the way Jordan reshaped the NBA, then who is? Smith didn't hesitate with his answer. He pointed straight at a player in Indiana Fever red, the one packing out arenas, shattering television records, and signing endorsement deals that women's basketball has never seen before. Let's stop speaking in hype and start speaking in numbers. Caitlin Clark's rookie season didn't just create buzz, it reset the league's record books. The WNBA set a new all-time single-season attendance record with Clark at the center of it. Fever games started drawing television audiences the league had never experienced, and that new $2+ billion media rights deal, Clark's fingerprints are all over it, even if her name isn't printed on the contract. Yes, the WNBA was already growing, but the trajectory changed the second she stepped onto a professional floor. The curve didn't gradually rise, it spiked. Think back to 1988. Michael Jordan wasn't just dominating defenders, he was transforming the NBA into a global obsession. People overseas who had never cared about Chicago suddenly cared deeply. Nike didn't just sell shoes. It became a cultural force because Jordan made it one. He didn't merely excel at basketball, he expanded what basketball meant. Clark is executing that same blueprint. Different decade, different league, same impact pattern. And if you want another comparison, look at Tiger Woods. Before Tiger, golf was niche viewing. After Tiger, it was appointment television. Millions of people who couldn't define a birdie were glued to their screens on Sunday afternoons just to watch him compete. He didn't just win tournaments, he pulled entirely new audiences into the sport. That's exactly what's happening with Clark and the WNBA. Fans who had never tuned into a women's basketball game are now setting alarms for Fever tip-offs. That's not incremental growth, that's a cultural shift unfolding in real time. Now here's where the conversation moves beyond basketball and into business. Clark became the first female athlete ever to partner with State Farm in the company's history, not the first WNBA NBA player, the first woman athlete, period. She launched a signature line with Wilson, the brand's first signature collection since Michael Jordan. Her Nike contract is the richest endorsement deal the WNBA has ever produced. Add in a record-setting Gatorade agreement, and the picture gets even clearer. But the LPGA partnership might be the most telling piece of all. That move shows her reach isn't confined to one sport. She's not just a basketball star, she's becoming a cross-sport figure. Golf brands want her, lifestyle brands want her. Companies outside of basketball see her audience and want access to it. Her name travels, so when Stephen A. Smith identifies Clark as the real needle mover, it's not theatrics, it's analytics. Attendance reports say it, ratings data confirms it, sponsorship portfolios reinforce it. The Jordan and Tiger comparisons aren't about championships. Not yet. They're about influence. They're about bringing in viewers who previously had zero attachment to the product. And here's the part people forget. This didn't begin with a sneaker launch or a bold media quote. Rewind to April 2023, the NCAA championship game, LSU versus Iowa. Caitlin Clark had just carried Iowa all the way to the title stage. In the closing moments, Angel Reese stepped in front of her, flashed the "you can't see me" gesture, and waved her hand in Clark's face on the biggest stage in college basketball. That moment didn't just go viral, it ignited something bigger. Every camera angle captured it. Within minutes, social media was on fire, and Angel Reese didn't shy away from the spotlight. She embraced it. But that viral moment wasn't just competitive fire, it became the blueprint for her public image. From that point forward, the brand leaned more into flash and friction than production and performance. Headlines often carried more weight than stat lines, and that approach can generate attention for a while. The problem, when you build your platform on moments like that, everything that follows gets judged against the same intensity. So when Caitlin Clark started drawing record crowds, landing historic endorsement deals, and dominating media cycles, the spotlight naturally shifted to Reese. People were waiting to see how she'd answer, and the pattern felt familiar. Clark trends because of a groundbreaking TV deal. Reese responds with a bold quote or marketing splash. Clark signs a major brand. Reese finds a way to stir conversation. It's been reactive energy from the beginning. There hasn't been a long stretch where Reese simply let her performance speak for her, largely because the on-court production hasn't been loud enough on its own. Look at the situation in Chicago with the Sky. Instead of quietly proving her value through play, Reese publicly aired frustrations about roster decisions and front office moves. And to be fair, players are allowed to feel frustrated. That's part of sports. But there's a difference between handling business internally and making it a public storyline. Time after time, Reese chose the storyline. Here's the hard truth. Controversy has an expiration date. Attention doesn't equal authority. Engagement doesn't equal trust. Brands aren't scrolling social media looking for the loudest personality, and they're evaluating stability, consistency, and long-term upside. Every public complaint, every feud, every moment where the narrative drifts away from basketball, it all becomes part of a larger profile, and that profile matters when companies decide where to invest millions of dollars. Now compare that to Clark's tone publicly. She talks about improving with the Fever, competing for titles, elevating the league's visibility, and securing better opportunities for players as a whole. Her messaging sounds like someone constructing something brick by brick. Reese's messaging often sounds like someone tallying what she feels she hasn't received yet. That's why the Jordan comparison didn't land the way it was intended. It wasn't a random soundbite. It came after 2 years of watching Clark collect the covers, the sold-out arenas, the endorsement milestones Reese likely envisioned for herself. And instead of closing that gap through dominance on the court, she tried to bridge it through branding. Meanwhile, reality paints a different picture. Reese's signature Reebok sneaker, the product meant to validate her star power, hasn't exactly flown off shelves. Rather than instant sellouts and resale frenzy, the shoes have been sitting, discounted, waiting for buyers. Months into release, the momentum simply hasn't materialized. That launch was supposed to be the proof. Your own shoe, your own line, your name attached to something fans rush to buy. That's how you demonstrate market pull. That's how you show the buzz translates into business. Instead, the rollout underperformed to the point where Reebok quietly eased off its promotional push. No dramatic press release, no public fallout, just a noticeable slowdown. And in the branding world, silence can speak volumes. When a company reduces marketing support, it's rarely because demand is overwhelming. It signals recalibration. Reebok invested in the partnership expecting a strong consumer response, and the response didn't meet projections. Now, internally, the conversation likely shifts from expansion to evaluation. That's a major change from the excitement surrounding the original deal announcement, when it was framed as a breakthrough moment for Reese's brand. On the other side of the equation, Nike's strategy with Caitlin Clark is moving in the opposite direction. They aren't stepping back, they're accelerating. More product drops, larger campaigns, increased visibility, bigger long-term investment as they build toward 2026 and beyond. Two athletes, two branding approaches, two very different trajectories. Caitlin Clark's partnership with Nike is already the richest endorsement agreement ever given to a WNBA player. And Nike isn't slowing down. They're expanding. More campaigns, more visibility, more long-term commitment. Now compare that to how Reebok has handled Angel Reese. The difference is impossible to miss. And it's not just about points per game. Companies don't invest millions based solely on stat sheets. They're investing in perception, in trust, in how consumers feel when they see that athlete's name attached to a product. They're buying brand identity. And Reese's overall image right now includes very public friction, frustration with management, ongoing controversy, and storylines that often drift away from basketball itself. Whether fair or not, that energy becomes part of the equation when a fan is deciding whether to spend their money. Meanwhile, Clark's product launches aren't just expected to do well, they're projected to sell out within minutes of release. Minutes. Reese's sneaker had months on the market and struggled to generate sustained demand. That's not a small performance gap. That's a completely different level of consumer pull. And make no mistake, brands pay attention to each other. When one company quietly scales back promotional support behind an athlete, executives across the industry notice. They reassess. They recalibrate. Reese's branding challenges have moved beyond online debate. They're now visible in retail performance and marketing strategy. That's not a minor hurdle. That's a structural problem. Now shift the lens to Clark's NBC debut as an NBA analyst. She's asked about the WNBA's ongoing CBA negotiations, a sensitive, high-stakes topic. Instead of venting or escalating tension, she calmly says she believes a deal will get done. Short, confident, forward-looking. And she says it on NBC in front of an NBA audience exponentially larger than the WNBA typically reaches. That matters. The CBA discussions are serious. Players are pushing for better salaries, improved travel conditions, and stronger league investment. Those goals are legitimate, but how the conversation is framed publicly influences how the league is perceived. Is this a league on the brink of major growth, or is this a league fractured internally? Clark answered that question with composure, and she answered it in a room full of decision makers, advertisers, and casual NBA fans who may be tuning into WNBA storylines for the first time. Now compare that tone to other public messaging around the league. While Clark projects stability and belief in the future, Reese has often used her platform to air roster dissatisfaction and front office frustration. That contrast isn't subtle. When the league is negotiating media deals and sponsorship renewals, Oz executives are listening closely to its most visible faces. An athlete who sounds like she's helping construct something bigger gives partners confidence. An athlete who sounds perpetually dissatisfied can create hesitation. Clark's approach signals growth. It signals alignment. It signals leadership, and that's exactly the type of presence the WNBA benefits from attaching to its biggest star. But beyond boardrooms and branding, there's the basketball side. And Indiana's outlook heading into 2026 is legitimately compelling. Clark alongside Lexi Hull, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Sophie Cunningham. That's not just a marketable lineup, that's a competitive one. Last season offered flashes of what that core can become, even with Clark navigating injuries and the team still building chemistry. Give that group another full off season together. Start the year with a healthy Clark from opening tip. Let Boston anchor the paint. Let Hull and Cunningham bring perimeter defense and grit. Let Mitchell create off the bounce. That's a foundation. The excitement around the Fever isn't blind hype. It's rooted in tangible elements. Chemistry that's already forming, defensive toughness on the wing, interior presence from Boston, and dynamic scoring from the backcourt. Indiana isn't just attracting attention, they're building something that could actually contend, and that difference between noise and construction is showing up everywhere. Put all of that together, a healthy Caitlin Clark orchestrating the offense, Aaliyah Boston controlling the paint, Kelsey Mitchell creating shots, White and Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham bringing toughness on the perimeter. And Indiana isn't just entertaining anymore, they're stepping into 2026 as a serious contender, not just league pass favorites, not just ratings magnets, a team that can actually chase a title. At this point, the direction feels obvious. When you zoom out, the contrast couldn't be clearer. Clark holds the largest Nike endorsement deal in WNBA history. She's locked in with Gatorade on a record-setting agreement. She has her own Wilson signature line. She made history as the first female athlete to partner with State Farm. And when her products drop, they're expected to disappear almost instantly. On the other side, Angel Reese's Reebok sneaker has struggled to gain traction, with pairs sitting marked down while the company quietly eases off promotion. Oh, there's even growing chatter about what the long-term future of that partnership looks like. That's not a media narrative, that's the marketplace speaking. Stephen A. Smith didn't create this divide. He just said out loud what the numbers already show. So now the question shifts back to you. When you hear comparisons to Michael Jordan, does that sound confident or disconnected from reality? Drop your opinion in the comments. If you're riding with Caitlin Clark and want more breakdowns like this, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Check out the video on your screen, and I'll catch you in the next one.